Sometimes, and here we're learning from a practical experience, right? You have to swallow a little bit of your pride and your ego and go lower, get in the kitchen maybe doing the dishes or something along those lines. We're going to learn what that involved for Shivam in order to get back on the takeoff of the plane. And you can do it. Right now, maybe somebody's watching that's thinking, what a miserable life. I thought by now I would be running the company or some other title or some other promotion or some other position. Instead, due to any kind of reason, in or outside of your control, you're having to start over. Right.
So I went over there and then I had to look for a job.
Okay.
So it was a bit tough. Australia was fun. Finding the first job was tough. I had to go 2 levels down. I could not start off at the same level.
Oh, so where did you start?
I started off in a company called TFE Hotels.
Okay.
Toga and Far East.
Okay.
It's an Australian chain. Okay. Pretty decent company. But I did not get my old designation back, which I had in India. I had to start from the near about the scratch again.
What was that like for you to do that?
It was a bit annoying, but it was fun. Like in the long term it worked out because the work culture in Australia is very different from India.
Okay.
Australian and Canadian work cultures are pretty common, are pretty similar. Okay. It's not very, there's hardly any significant difference. Okay. But switching over from one mode of thinking to the other mode of thinking, that was where the majority of the shift happened. And that's where your eyes start opening. So that's where it all started off.
This channel is about helping small business owners travel and inspiration.
Yep.
We want to inspire people through stories just like Shivam, and where we find little nuggets of truth, little bits that may be helpful to just one person watching right now. That might be you. And what I'm hearing Shivam saying right now, what might be of interest to you is you go along in a trajectory. You're going on a career path.
Yep.
You're headed in a direction and you think this is the direction, like a plane taking off.
Yep.
It's just going to keep getting better and better, and you're going to get promotions and higher. But in life, if you've lived as long as I have, and even Shivam,
31.
you discover that sometimes you have to do a lateral move. Yep. You have to go shift over to something equal instead of going up. Sometimes, and here we're learning from a practical experience, right? You have to swallow a little bit of your pride and your ego and go lower, get in the kitchen maybe doing the dishes or something along those lines. We're going to learn what that involved for Shivam in order to get back on the takeoff of the plane. And you can do it. Right now, maybe somebody's watching that's thinking, what a miserable life. I thought by now I would be running the company or some other title or some other promotion or some other position. Instead, due to any kind of reason, in or outside of your control, you're having to start over, or having to step down, or having to step to side and take on something you thought you wouldn't at your stage. It's okay. It's not the end of the story.
No, it's not.
There's many more days ahead. Do your best what you got right now, okay? All right, let's get back to Shivam and the story. So you had to step down in Australia.
Yes.
You had to get a job doing more menial work, or?
I have always worked in hotels.
Good.
I was a duty manager. Below a duty manager, there is a guest service associate. So I became a guest service associate. Okay. Very simple.
Guest services associate.
A front desk clerk in simple terms.
Reporting to the
duty manager.
The duty manager.
Which I was.
Which you were before.
Which I was earlier.
Okay. And was it difficult? I know it was a shift mentally, but how did you handle it?
Look, it's a very simple story. You're in a new country. You have to start. Get the first job you can.
Right.
Just put the ego out into the dustbin. That's the easiest thing I can say. That is it. There's nothing else beyond it. Just put the ego into the dustbin. Right. Unless you have a separate story.
Right.
So I had an advantage. Hotels are everywhere, and they more or less use the same software, the main system, the same systems, the same way of working. So I could get a job reasonably quickly in less than 3 months.
Sure.
And 3 months is a fair amount of time.
Sure.
But it was still fast. But then starting at the base was fine, because you also have to understand that, and this I think will work for a lot of people who have shifted from other countries to Canada. This country works in a very different fashion as compared to what your home country does.
Okay.
So it might be beneficial for you to start from the base.
Okay.
If you think you can start here as a MD of a company, it's not going to work out. If you think you can start here as a head of a department, it's not going to work out.
Okay.
Unless you have significant experience already in many.
So you're saying you may have the training in your country,
Yes.
in your system, your culture,
Yes.
but if you go to another place,
Yes.
you may be better, even
Yes.
if it's not necessary
Yes.
to start at a lower level.
Yes.
Okay.
And that is what a lot of people do. And I've heard these stories from people who work in information technology, people who work in hotels, people who work in human resources, because human resources is very law oriented,
Okay.
labor laws and stuff.
Okay.
So I think a lot of times it does make a lot of practical and monetary sense. Ultimately, it's all a question of how much money you have in your pocket.
Sure.
To start off from at least a level below.
Sure.
It won't harm for sure.
So this is what you did, Shivam, in Australia.
Yes.
You went, you had the visa, you found a job, but it meant you were not going to be duty manager.
No.
You were going to be one level beneath.
One level below.
And how long did that last?
It lasted for a year, 9 months,
Okay.
which was fine because I was also trying to understand the place.
Okay.
Because the way my brain works is that I literally go deep into a thing.
Okay.
So it's fine. I had some traveling to do. I had some friends to make.
In Australia?
Yeah.
What type of hotel was it? Was it similar to what you had been in India?
Similar category.
Okay.
Like a 4-star, not a luxury property.
Okay.
But yeah, it was a good hotel. Toga and Far East, TFE.
TFE.
Yep.
Okay.
It's a pretty major chain in Australia, not outside of Australia and New Zealand.
So that was similar.
Yeah.
You were in a hotel chain that
Yeah.
was just in India. Now you were in a property that had sister properties just in Australia
In Australia and New Zealand.
and New Zealand. You were there doing this work during the pandemic?
No, this was in 2016. I was in Australia from January 2016 till May 2020.
Okay.
4.5 years.
Okay. You were there 1 year, 9 months.
Yeah.
And then where did you go?
I got promoted within the same company to a duty manager, so I had my old job back.
See, I told you, do what you can right now. It's not the end of the story, right?
The other advantage being is that in these countries the pay level is much higher. So even if you are a level below, it doesn't make a difference.
Oh,
You're
okay.
earning more than enough to support yourself.
Okay.
Unless you booze every night. That is a separate story.
Every other night's okay,
Yeah.
but not every night.
Not every night. No, even every other night is bad. But that is roughly how it works.
And where did you go after that?
So I quit that company after about 3.5 years.
Okay.
I joined Accord.
Whoa.
Yeah.
You were there 1 year, 9 months as the step beneath. Then
Yep.
you became duty manager.
Yes.
So the total at that property was 4 years?
3.5 years.
3.5 years.
With the company, I've shifted at least 3 properties.
Okay.
So one to another and another to the third one. Then I left
Adelaide?
Sydney.
Sydney?
This
all
was
in Sydney?
All in Sydney.
Okay. And great experience, good friends?
Very great experience in the long term. In the short term, it could be quite frustrating because you're not used to this, you're not used to that, you're not used to a different system of paying taxes, government services, you're not used to talking to a lot of different cultures. But if you go out, join groups, you will win in the end.
So you have to make an effort.
Or you have to make a lot of.
Oh man, we're just full of nuggets. Shivam, this may turn into more than one video, one 10, 12-minute video, because here he's saying, and I tell people this all the time when I'm asking them if I can film them, and they say, no, I'm too shy, or I got a lot of excuses and all the rest. Look, life is very short, right? You're gonna get back what you put in.
Yep.
This is the law of life, whatever your fundamental basic belief system is about life and all of the rest. This principle applies to everybody. You put your best foot forward with a great attitude and make an effort to connect with good people like Shivam, Newcomers, Vancouver, or wherever you are coming soon, you're going to get back a life.
It takes an effort. It takes a lot of effort, especially if you're not used to what is essentially not a European, but a European-based, European-descended culture like Australia and Canada.
Right. So you put the effort in
Yep.
Sydney to
Yep.
reach out and connect with people.
Yes, reach out to connect to people, talk to I'm not trying to be racist against my own people,
Right.
but then till date,